imagine composing the piece. Then it's a matter of weeding it and adding to it. So there'll be quite a bit of time either adding wires to certain areas to increase the density, or taking them out, or changing the color density a little bit. I've pulled out the darkest wires from the group I have, knowing that I want to reserve those for a certain crux of the sort of the middle of the piece where the two ovals generally overlap. So yeah, it'll be an afternoon of drilling holes. The overall sense of the work when it's complete is that it's very organic, but actually the angle of the drill bit going into the wall is very important. I'm dropping it in at about a 45-degree angle. And then I'm trying to make sure that I'm laying it straight in, because if it goes in at a slight angle, then the wire looks wonky and comes out. And so there is quite a bit of precision in the trajectory of the line out of the hole. So the drilling process takes quite a bit of concentration. It looks random, and maybe the pattern is random, although I'm changing the density pretty carefully. But the dropping of the bit into the hole really affects how the lines then find their way out of the hole and into the air. So. Because the line drops about 3 feet out of the hole, because the wire is 3 feet, and then the wooden weight on the end adds a little dimension to that. So the combination of the curve and the dimension of the wood makes it approximately a 3-foot drop from the tip of the wood to where the hole that originates out of. So there's a kind of a drop of the shape down the wall. So the tape marks on the wall are the location of the holes, but yet the work has a kind of a shadow of itself, or an echo off the wall to the point of the tip of each wire. So it's very diagrammatic at this stage, and then it starts to gather its lyrical qualities as it's loaded up with wires. And then, of course, each piece of wood is a little different than the next. They're all tapered and curved in slightly different ways. So that adds to the mixture, I guess you'd say, from the diagrammatic. I actually marked out 2 ovals on the wall. Generally 2 ovals that were intersecting. And so there's a kind of geometry underneath this. It's actually been interesting to have someone here while I'm working who's observing what's going on, because quite truthfully, the process is of course something I enjoy and that I find very much a part of it, but in the end I feel these forms are moving, or they're successful, or they speak to people less because of what it takes to do it and more because of the sensation that it seems to achieve, and the maybe even the sort of not very specific sense of content. They seem to be about something for sure, and they've evoked emotions of all kinds. I've been told when people walk in, they can elicit a kind of elation where you find kids sort of skipping amongst the, skipping near the work, or kind of lifting their feet up, or having a sense of buoyancy on the ground. And then there are others who've walked in and have found an emotion of quite another kind, where they tend to become quite reflective or pensive or even sad in some way. So I think actually to have had the process of drilling the holes and loading the holes with wires and untangling it, and the sort of Zen-like time that it takes to do it has been good for me to realize that there's a difference between that and then what it is when it's just alone here in the room, and what it might evoke. Because I feel that it's bodily and also of the land, or of some natural world other than human body. And I think that comes from the repose that the wires are in. They're falling, or they're leaning, they're weeping, or they're opening. There are lots of different verbs that could be used to describe them. But it's always been interesting to me that they seem to kind of float in some reference point that isn't fixed, that's buoyant, and that is indeterminate.